This episode was filmed on location at The Quorum in Lusaka, Zambia. The Quorum. Exceptional, extraordinary, exclusive. Discover more at thequorumzm.com.
So this is what crossed my mind when I was leading up to this thing, right? For musicians, for guys who are in the space that we find ourselves in. Like in the 70s, the guys who, 70s, 80s, if there was a TV person that was pushing the agenda for musicians, be it Amaenge, be it Pongozi, Ricky Lilonga, it was Timi Mvula.
Yeah.
After Timi Mvula, there was a short period where for the guys that were straight after that, because Timi Mvula, in terms of our generation, he touched on breakdance by the exposing the country to Pinkwale Malawas and those. And then there was a short little window where there was, I think, a vacuum.
Yeah.
Maureen tapped into that slightly with Flashy Kids. Yeah. But then when Alec came on, he was like our generation's guy.
That's right.
Yeah. Because what you did in terms of Teen Time, later on B-Track, but you created like a little network of people who used to come to the show. I mean, the fact that you had back then rap group Uchumi co-hosting, and I want to find out how you guys met. So you were like our guy for that window, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Fast forward to the generation slightly after us, it was probably Smooth IK in terms of TV representation, pushing the agenda of musicians and that. Now there are more channels, you know, there's proliferation of stuff. So you got PMC and all these other guys, but you were our guy, you see.
Big time.
What was even more interesting is that, you know, I picked it up from Timi Mvula. You know, I was very close to Timi.
Right. Yeah.
And every time he took me to the studio, I said, no changes. Let's go into the studio. You know, he showed me how to do some creative camera work. Oh. And I used to film, you know, and every time they were filming, you know, all those Joyce Nyerongo, those videos, I was one of the cameramen that was picked to film those. Because I learned to very quickly operate those dolly cameras and all that. Yes. I used to get some really good shots.
Sorry, Alec, I mean, I don't want to disturb you there, but so you filmed Mate!
But when Shalamwana came, they told me, no, don't.
Because you're too young, or what was the story?
No. They just needed someone who is more seasoned to get it into the studio. But I
was that the politically correct reason that was given?
That was the politically correct reason you were given.
That was given.
Political, but also, you know, they termed it professional. You know, much here we need the big guys to handle it. But I was very close to this very big cameraman called Mr. Charles Perry. He was so good. You know, he could dolly the camera from one end, like circling it, coming from the top to the bottom like that. And then I was watching him very, very closely. But what was exciting about Timi Mvula? Timi Mvula had passion and love for music. He had passion and love for musicians. He interacted a lot with musicians. So he used to take me sometimes to the Ridgeway Hotel, and I was introduced to
Richard Chanta.
They actually tried my voice for singing. Oh, yes. I was supposed to have been the guy who should just be thrown in, you know, at random to sing, I believe the children are the future, you know, that kind of thing. I said, no, but I'm fine of you. I think you can do it. So, but then, what was his name? Akim Sumukonda. Vashiniza also fell in love. I'm fine of you. You know, so I was like getting into the family of the musicians. But when Timi Mvula, may he so rest in peace, when he died, you know, I always used to see talent. And I always remembered our variety shows at schools. I remembered what was going on at all these schools. And then I thought, so what do we do? Should they just be watching this at the schools? Can't the whole country share this in terms of, you know, let's put it on TV or something? But Maureen was like my intro into TV, Flashy Kids.
So before Maureen, you were behind the scenes.
So there's a story.
I was way behind the scenes.
Okay. Sorry, See, that's what happens when you got all these stories intertwining. So Alec and Maureen's story is intertwined into my story. That's how we first met.
Yes.
Okay.
because we were the first flashy kids. First ever, like we were the guinea pigs.
They were the clever kids in those days.
Yeah, so he walked in, so you can tell the story.
For the uninitiated, by the way, Flashy Kids was a TV show.
The TV show.
Yes. Flashy Kids was a TV show with segmented into things that sharp kids of then, the in kids would present, alphabet type of things, little dances, beatbox and type of, and that's where I met Tivo. Tivo was kind of a little more different from the other flashy kids. He was the more talented flashy kid. And I quickly noticed he could do a number of things. So Maureen had to go to school and to the UK and to do her masters and things. So she said, please, I'm leaving this program in your hands. She left it in my hands, Chilu. I messed it up. because
You took out the flash.
It became more of a, I don't know. I just wanted to give more children an opportunity to come. So the children nearby, Kalingalinga, they started coming in queues to come and appear on Flashy Kids. Yeah, that's the mess I did. But it was part of an experience because when Maureen came and she thought, what have you done to the program? We need to bring the Flashy Kids back. The Flashy Kids.
So just the kids.
Because it was a classy.
But how do you remember it? What's your recollection?
So my recollection of that period was, I don't even know how we got invited to ZNBC, but Maureen was very, very warm, very ahead of her time. Ahead of the time, at least the times that we were growing up in, you know what I mean? And Alec and I were talking about how ZNBC was the only thing. It's not like now where you could kind of, get an idea from BET and then position it. So Maureen, in terms of her ideas, was like leaps ahead of what was happening at the time. So when we were called in and said, you guys are, you like Alex said, you guys are smart. And we had to go through this interview. We had to speak, we had to kind of hear, our thoughts. Is there, can you speak well in front of the television? Can you read the script? Can you do these things? Oh, what else can you do? Oh, you mean you can dance? Okay. And then now we started finding different pockets in different segments. And you know what I mean? One day you're just going to the studio as a kid. Next day when you walk on the street, everybody recognizes you. Like,
because it's a game changer. 1 second you're anonymous, next second you're celeb.
Yeah, but then that's how I remember. Alec walked in and and he always had like a swagger about him. There was always like this smooth thing and just like, okay, see you, big guy.
How did you meet though? Because so I came straight out of boarding school. I'd been tracking all these situations, but I was at boarding school, so I wasn't having as much fun as you guys. But, long story short, my school period ended prematurely. And I found myself, gravitated to the screen, watching you guys, thinking like, wow, this is amazing. And then I heard that you guys, because it was Uchumi Brothers, you obviously, and your brother Leslie, presenting with Alec on Teen Time. So this was after Flashy Kids. Right. But how did you guys meet? Maybe let's hear your version and then we'll come to yours.
Well, it's very interesting because we were already, we started off as Bass Rock Posse in the 80s.
Bass Rock Posse!
It's all coming out.
Remember the days of Posse? So we were the Bass Rock Posse back in the 80s. When Radio 4 was opening, then it was called Big
Mulungushi.
That's on Mulungushi Radio. Yeah, we were, for lack of a better word, discovered by Dick Curtis and Herman Stridle.
Dirty Dick. The strangest name, Dirty Dick.
Sarah Muvanga, that whole group. Yes. So we were kind of discovered by them.
You're listening to Dirty Dick.
The man who puts a mess in radio. So he discovered us. Foul-mouthed man, but very nice guy.
Yeah, nice guy. Interesting, I went to school with Curtis, who was his daughter.
Yes. We were very close.
Yeah.
Curtis and Annalise.
Yeah,
the two of them. Yeah, Curtis and
Annalise,
and sister Annalise.
Yes.
They were at Lake Road.
Annalise was in my class in
Really?
at Tinkwazi,
Amazing.
Such a small world.
Amazing.
Private
It's a tiny
school
world.
people.
Yeah, correct. So anyway, they were very good friends. So at that time, we were discovered. Those days, we used to admire Patrick Sembel of all things.
Yeah.
Because he was the Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson of our
Michael
time.
Jackson,
Yes, he had just done Bolingo Schoolgirl.
Oh,
This is like back, this is like 87 something.
yes.
So we got into that gig and got discovered. We even did the rap song that was part of the opening themes at Mulungushi Radio. Back
Wow. Do you remember the lyrics?
I was a really corny rap, like at a big Mulungushi. That's the name. Something. That's
the game.
So corny. As lame as it comes. You know?
I was a revolutionary during that time.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing.
I mean, I always remember, sorry, we're kind of diversing, but this is so funny. We go to Central Studios, we're rappers, and we just walk. We march all the way from Madras and Kawata all the way to Northmead. Those days there were really no buses, so we just cut across Rhodes Park, down to Melomumba, boom, Northmead. And we walk into Central Studios. Those days it was located just behind where Caltex is now in Northmead. There's some building there. That's where they were. And so we walk in there and we meet a guy called Mitch. I'll never forget.
Yeah, Mitch.
You see, you guys are doing all this recognition thing. I was in boarding school.
No, but trust me, at some point it's all going to come together.
So I'm not sure. So Mitch.
And Mitch is mesmerized. You guys are rappers. Yeah, we're rappers, man. And you must remember we're like
that's
15,
how Mitch
was. Mitch Zambian?
Huh?
Yeah.
Mitch was Zambian.
But he didn't sound Zambian.
No, I think it was
Mitch had a way that he spoke.
So we had our suspicions. Anyway, so he sees us and he's like, oh, you guys are rappers, it's powerful. Now, we so happen to walk into the studio when Kenny Wild, if you remember a guy called
Kenny Wild, yes, I remember Kenny Wild.
At Moon City or wherever, was there. And so he goes, so he's like, no, these are rappers. So he looks at us, rappers. And yeah, we're rappers, man. We're rappers. We've been doing the whole attitude. We had B-boots. Remember the bandanas, the high tops. Remember high tops? Yeah, so the whole thing, skin jeans and the ripped jeans. It's funny how fashion comes back. So we're there. And then he goes, and I'll never forget this. Man, that was just such a buster, but it was so cool. He says, rappers, Mugajula.
That was very common. Yeah.
And it was Kenny Wild, so you couldn't say anything. You're just like,
okay. But that's where we started from. So fast forward, the bass rock posse became Uchumi, State Lodge, the whole gig. And then after that, we transitioned into being on our own, joined with the Mwale Sisters, did a lot of cabaret, Burning Youth. So it's in that era that we then, heard about Teen Time. We said, dude, we gotta go to Teen Time. And those days we were literally being mentored by Chris Charlie of Amayenge. Literally, like we used to get his keyboard and just go, and he'd come looking for it. My keyboard in the phone. He had a DMX something.
DX7.
DX7. It was the rage.
That's the one. Akim Simkonda.
We're getting far from the story, but that's the keyboard that Alan Vula did Love Has No Color.
Correct.
Yeah, but you know the DX7 that Alan Vula used belonged to
Amayenge.
No.
Oh, it was different.
No, it belonged to. It might have possibly belonged to Amayenge. Yeah. But we accessed it through Akim Simkonda.
Yes.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Because Akim
makes sense.
had, true. Yeah. So we used to borrow that keyboard a lot.
It was 3,000 kwacha to borrow it for a song.
Yeah, that's later on now. But us, they didn't know how good it was.
Also, what is interesting is how difficult it was just to get a hold of a keyboard.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And you know why we wanted that keyboard? Because it was a sequencer, man. There's a whole thing.
Yeah, the sequence. And the sounds, it had all the sounds that we heard on radio.
The strings and the bass and all that stuff. So anyway. So it was in that era that we saw Teen Time. And it's interesting at that time we were also interacting with Soterius.
Soterius Chronis, yes.
So because of his Zuba
Yes,
the
he
Greek
used
and
to perform at
disco.
Zuba.
Yes.
Zuba the
So
Greek.
same
And so James
era.
was the DJ manager.
That's when Warren Mills had kind of pulled out of the music industry, but it was still this rich musician driving around in AMGs. So it was that era. So when we saw Teen Time, we said, dude, let's go blow the sucker off this roof. Let's go see Alec. So we just literally, I still recall, we carried the DX7 literally with a stereo to the studio. He used to have a little graphics room at ZMBC in the main wing, whatever they call that wing, the other side, behind the studios, but not the pan brick side, the other side. So that's where the office was. And he had all these graphics guys. That was graphics, you know what I mean? Huh? So we told him, Alec, we need to come and see you. I don't know how we called, I don't know if we phoned, or I don't know how it worked, but the point is, he said, okay, come over. So that's how we went. Carried the keyboard, cables, stereo. We said this to X-Bass.
X-Bass.
X-Bass, you remember? Yes, that's the one. You remember that with the tune?
What did the Sanyo X-Bass?
Yeah, I think, but you could press like eject and the thing comes out.
Yeah, on top. And it was so cool, right? Yeah. Like really nice, soft. And
Oh my God, that's so corny, but it was the rage back then, right? So we carry this thing and we get there. And so Alec is like, just amused, you know? Like these kids, like me, Lee, were like, even connected pipe and put like a keyboard, music starts playing. In those days, it's a sequence, all right? So drums, everything.
Yeah.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
And then we start rapping. I can't remember what
You don't
rap we
remember the
did.
rap?
I can't remember. But they were like, okay, he didn't even allow us to continue. Done. You can come and be on the show. Oh, cool. And so that's how we got there. And you know, I think it was such a rage. Yeah. Whatever we did was so good that Alex said, you guys, you'll have a segment, just be coming. So I actually started teaching keyboards and doing sequencing, how to do sequence and rap. And really that was the way we started doing Teen Time.
So you know what's interesting is we started hanging out. So this is what you don't know. Yeah. Is that you guys had Teen Time, but there was a parallel movement happening underneath because we were all meeting there. So like, for example, I don't know if people remember the shows that were at Northmead. Those free shows with the stage and the rappers and first time people knew of MCR, what we know exactly, True for Real, whatnot. Yeah. That in effect stemmed in a way from Teen Time, from the conversations that were happening offline, so to speak, because there was a gathering of like-minded people thinking like, what do we do from here? We started hanging out at Simerson, remember? Yes. But it's almost like the studio during your era was the headquarters, right? Of where we were interacting.
All talent would meet there. Yeah.
So while you wrap the show and carry on with your work, but the movement doesn't wrap. You know what I mean? Yeah. The movement carries on. So you also have like an investment in what music has turned out to be, because a lot of the pioneers from there were doing stuff, you know, parallel from the show. When I came on the show, my story before you guys take over, because you know it's juicy. So I come into the studio and then I'm watching this stuff.
Which studio?
It was ZMBC studio. Yeah. So I'm watching it, and then I don't even know how I got, you know, the seat, but I was going to be on a segment with Leslie. Yes. And it was later on you said, no, we can call it the Critics Bureau. No, in fact, I remember now.
The Critics Bureau.
I came to you with complaints. Like, these guys that you're putting on the show are not really rappers. You get a guy which is like, as long as he says, let's kick it, you're thinking he's a rapper, but maybe he's not. So I was complaining to you, but then you're a content man. You're like, oh, why don't you say that on camera? You're like, what? So let's create the Critics Bureau. So Critics Bureau of the show. So now I'm on there, and Leslie's about to interview me. And then I remember what had happened is I'd watched some Grammy award thingy, you know. Yes. So I told Leslie, I go, when you introduce me, just say, so Bongo, where have you been? Because I had like my little answer that I'd planned. Yeah. So he said, so Bongo, where have you been? I said, I've just been to the toilet, but don't worry, I washed my hands.
Yes, I remember that. Oh my God.
A TV moment, right? Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I hope I find that clip.
And that's what I was remembered for. I saw you on TV, you said, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And you see, that was, I think, what made some of the programs that I did differently. Yeah. Because ZMBC was very conservative. Right. Yes. And they never allowed things to go on TV. Yes. And then somehow I allowed the guys that came on the show to be very free with their conversations, with whatever was happening on the program, and even the dress code. Because they told me, Mr. Mugala, can you come to my office? You know, my boss calls me, and I go there and he says, now, these children you're bringing on the show, you know, others have got hair, what? And then
my brother, the Frankie Dread.
They come with jackets, you know, things.
you guys are the Frankie Dread,
And then also, you know, the language. You know, this TV is about this. I said, that's I know. But you know, there's a new thing. This is the new generation. Things are changing. This is the way they speak. This is the way they dress. So if we keep on coming here with ties and jackets, it won't work. I remember that I was one of those first few guys who pull the jacket. They told me.
You did like Miami Vice.
Yes, Miami Vice thing, absolutely.
They said to me, okay, you should be wearing a jacket. I said, okay, I'll wear a jacket. But I removed the tie. And I pulled the jacket. And then next, I'm in a leather jacket and a bow neck. So everybody's looking like, okay, that guy, I think he knows that's what you're talking about. Then, so these guys, Uchumi, you know, I just looked at them. I said, these are stars. Before they could even say whatever they said, I just said, let me just hear what they have to say. Then they spoke so well, and they presented themselves so well. And I just said, okay, you know what? We're going to create a segment. So you have to come, and you have to commit yourselves to be coming to this program every week. Now you have to make content, what you need to teach and everything else. And that segment had so much following.
It did. It was a huge success.
And then, you know, then when all these things started coming in the Critics Bureau, you know, the Tivo's making to my gangs, we used to have like a really funny set, just from our boxes, like colored boxes, where we used to see.
I remember that,
And then
you designed those sets.
Yes,
was so
I
cool.
designed the sets because I just wanted everything to look a little artistic and a little informal, different. Because we'd have even like the Sakala brothers appear on the show, and then I just pulled back a little bit, and then I let everybody ask them questions. That's what made it different.
It was a powerful time. People wanted to ask you some stuff about.
But what I wanted to say, just to add to it, like one thing I remember about Alec, and which I think in a way everybody in the music industry now benefits off how Alec allowed himself to just allow people to come and be themselves. ZNBC wasn't in any form, shape, in any way like that at the time. You know what I mean? When you went to ZNBC, you either had to get an appointment, you had to sit outside by the police, you know, the little police for hours. You know what I mean? But Alec was the type of guy, if you're sitting there and you find, he's like, Tim, let's go. You know what I mean? And then like he made you feel comfortable. So in terms of just being a creative, it was an environment in which you thrived in. You didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being boxed. As long as you were dealing with Alec.
Exactly.
And you know, to be fair to Maureen, it was the same sort of spirit, you know? Because I had my experiences with other shows. They were very different. But
Very
this year,
rigid,
everything that came out of here, you can see how everybody kind of connects and the different sort of success that's come out of it.
You know what's so interesting about what you're saying? I'm sitting here now, I'm thinking of Smooth IK. And that's what I see.
That's exactly.
Basically, Innocent, really, for all intents and purposes, is the person that took over from you. Because he was able to now create that transition into that whole new generation. I guess basically Mondo coming forward, right? Is it Mondo or
No,
just after Mondo.
just after Mondo?
Because Mondo Music also came during the time of Explosion. And this time, I think we were really trying to get Chilu to come on the show when you did that album with all the hit songs.
The Rhythm Nation.
The Rhythm Nation.
Mondo,
Yes.
Because most of the musicians there, or most of the artists on that CD, they came through to Explosion. Because Explosion was just something else. You know, after the whole Teen Time episode, Teen Time ran for a while, and it even got it attracted sponsorship from Cheese Propons.
Oh.
So Cheese Propons.
Shameless plug.
This is the show to advertise Vaseline intensive care and all those with toys and things like that.
Yeah. I even remember Lily Max.
Yeah, Lily Max. Then came the V-Track.
Yeah, I remember V-Track. That was Michael Shumba in conjunction with you, Alan Mugala.
You produced the V-Track.
I produced the V-Track.
Yes.
You know, by then we had already left for the UK.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
When you guys left, I think the time also,
Is it?
Shilu, I used to hear of him here and there because then I had gone to Bob TV.
Yeah.
Yes, I was doing in Botswana, in Mabato. Yeah, I was doing a few things there. And then when I came back, I was inspired when I saw a show called Jam Alley.
Jam Alley on SABC One.
So now, Jam Alley on SABC One, I used to watch it and I thought, okay, it's a little bit more crazy, and I'm going to do something similar. Something similar.
Yeah.
That's when the V-Track came. And the V-Track, one day, a late friend of mine, Floyd Munankopa, was passing through Kabwata at 18 hours. I was saying, what's happening to this place? Where are the people?
Yeah.
And then 30 minutes later, like people start just coming out.
Oh, because they were on TV watching V-Track.
V-Track, but you have Bafana. They were watching the V-Track.
Wow.
It was the bomb. Such that it had a discussion every time in the newspapers, people debating how do those children go to the studio. Alec Mugala is spoiling children.
For real.
13th episode, when we were about to run the last episode, was it the vice president then or secretary?
Yeah, we're probably going to say Godfrey Miyanda.
Banned the V-Track.
He banned it.
They banned the V-Track. Channel O. They banned it.
Channel O and the V-Track.
I mean, Mr. Miyanda is a lovely man. But part of his legacy is like he used to shut it down. V-Track.
What was the reason for banning?
It wasn't reflecting Christian morals.
Like
the dances and everything.
Oh, the move.
Too provocative, or
But if you really watch the V-Track, it was edutainment. Actually, that was the beginning of edutainment. Education. Because we used to have segments where they are, looking futuristic of what do you think of the agriculture in Zambia when we get to the year 2020 or something. We always used to dream things like that, Then, fast forward, when they banned the V-Track, I said, so what next? I'm going to deal with the older people now. Explosion.
But wait, Alec, before you move on from the V-Track, I'm curious. Did you ever meet General Miyanda post the V-Track? In any sort of...
any capacity?
Yeah, any capacity.
We met.
Did that ever come up?
It was I was more connected to the daughter. Okay. She used to run an orphanage. And then at some point, I asked her, I said, does your father sometimes speak about me? And she said,
Lorraine.
Lorraine.
Oh, yes.
And she says, not really. But then there was some event, I think we met, and he looked at me. He says, Mr. Mugala, how are you? I said, I'm fine, sir. I'm fine, sir. I really wanted to shrink. I said, I don't know what next is going to say. Put him in the guard room.
But now, so now we segue to, so this is the situation with people like you who've got famous children. Yeah. There's a generation of, like, us guys know you as Alec Mugala, V-Track, Teen Time, what. Then there's a generation of guys who just know you as Mwaka's dad.
Absolutely.
No, not the Mwaka. Zuba's dad.
They don't
even know the Mwaka. No.
How does that feel? You had a better way when we were doing a pre-chat of framing this thing.
No, but I mean, it's for me, I think it's, success in legacy. Like you epitomize that. And I think a lot of the times we are, walking in corridors of greatness, and we don't actually even take the time to realize what it is. And Alec is just one of those people that has been instrumental in the development of entertainment across sport, to the extent of his genes coming through in his water. That's how this man breathed, drank.
If I can't be there for the next generation,
For the next generation,
I shall send forth.
I mean, all of us can sit here and we have an Alec Mugala story, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just, I'm sure there's so many people that we could have invited here to be a part of this discussion, and they can all say different things in ways you impact them. But I think for me, the highlight of everything that you've done in terms of legacy is what you've done with your daughter. I really feel like, you've done exceedingly well, because Mwaka isn't just a brilliant actress. She's a brilliant young lady. Television, I'm talking about away from acting, as a presenter. She started as a kid. Was it on one of your shows?
When Mwaka was born, I went to the hospital. I was rushing there, after jumping off a bus those days. Really dusty and all that. I find there's a crew coming out of the ward, a TV crew. It's like, where are these people coming from? So I get to the ward. My wife tells me, there was a crew here. They just said, we want to film this child. And they interviewed me and what. So I said, these are problems.
I see.
I know about start them young, but start them young.
Alec, do you have that footage though?
Stop.
Do you have that footage?
No, that footage is not there.
But it wasn't your crew though.
No.
No, but still,
then, as we were growing, the days of that President TV and the small black white TV, Mwaka would always stand in front of the TV. And then when I'm sitting there, she's looking at me and looking at the TV.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Oh, was she making the connection?
Yeah.
I think trying to make the connection. But he's here. Now he's here. In the box.
Yeah.
So as she grew up, we
these the
became
Nyumbayanga days.
The Nyumbayanga days.
Yes, we're neighbors.
Yes,
You also live in Nyumbayanga?
No, I just used
we used to come to the White House. It was the White House. I can probably drive there now and remember
exactly where it was.
They are the so-called Alex houses.
Yes.
So, and then every time I'm going to the studio, when she's just slightly grew up, I'll just carry her with me. Just sit there. And that's when now she started making the connection that also, this is where he comes. This is the camera whole thing and whatever. Fast forward, when she was growing up, I think she was just fond of asking me a lot of questions about media, about people in the media, what do they do and all this. So my part was just to answer the questions. Yeah. And the mother, who is very figure person, she's a finance person, banker and all that. And I think she was also seeing Mwaka in that direction. Yeah. But Mwaka was a very quiet person. We didn't know what was running in her mind. Next, Mwaka, she finishes school. And at school, she was very active in Miss Shani, these variety shows and what. But also very intelligent. She manages to go to the University of Zambia. And we said, so what are you going to study? Mascom. The mother said, Mascom, Mwaka.
Because you didn't want her to follow your footsteps.
like almost saying, check your daddy, maybe not so much. But she's just quiet.
Did you have one of those moments where...
She went.
Alec, did you have one of those moments where they said, Mascom, what's wrong with Mascom?
No, normally I'll just look at the TV.
But you see that you gave, that was like a bit of her.
Yeah. And then
she definitely.
And then she finishes her university. We are listening to the radio. Who do we listen to? DJ Red, 5FM. Mwaka is there. I said, this sounds like Mwaka. This must be Mwaka. She's DJ Red. She came to ask me, Pops, can I use some of your CDs and what? So she went to 5FM, literally found the job.
Wow.
Herself.
Yeah. Wow.
Not even pulling
While she was doing that, she also started doing a film course, where they were teaching them camera work and all this. And then apparently, even, because I was running a production company now, and in my productions, we needed extra people to do camera work. She came, we trained her to do camera. She was one of the best camera people on our crew. Even now, if I tell her, handle the camera, the cameras where you used to do the white balance and all that.
Yes.
She'll do it quickly, place it, set it up at what, do the lights and everything else, and go back to her position quietly without speaking.
Wow. Just I don't mean to interrupt, but it feels like a Kanye West moment, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish, but yeah, but just on that, like my sister, who you worked with at ZNBC, Matimba.
Yes.
Yeah. So she used to always talk about Mwaka. Mwaka was a child.
Mwaka was a child, yes.
At this point, but my sister was so in love with this child that we used to hear about her all the time in our home. You know what I mean? And she was, this kid is so intelligent, she's so smart, she can read, she can do this and that. And fast forward to the future. So Alec and I have this relationship, right?
Yeah.
My wife and I go to Miss Zambia. Yeah. So at this point, I'm thinking about, doing talent management. So, and I'm looking for different people to do different things. So I see this girl, she comes on stage. And prior to her coming on stage, she was sitting literally right next to us. Yeah. Unnoticeable, very quiet, holding a piece of paper. And almost meek,
very timid.
Yeah, very timid. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. And so we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden, the pre-announcer announces the MCs, and Mwaka was one of the MCs. So she comes on. So I'm thinking, what's this little girl going to do? I don't even know who she is at this point, And so she walks on and says hello, and then she just takes over the show. Yeah. Literally, like the person was sitting next to us was a completely different person. The person that was on stage. Yeah. And at the time, I was doing I was the creative director for Power FM.
Yeah. Yes.
And they were looking for people to do different shows. So literally, I was there and I called Kenny Tonga and I was like, Kenny, I've found your star. Yeah. He's like, really? I said, I've found your star. Yeah. So she comes off and I'm like, oh, hi, how you doing? Because they just introduced her as Mwaka. I said, oh, how you doing? She says, oh, I'm Mwaka Mugala. So it connects my sister, back to Alec. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think I called you and I'm like, Alec, listen, I've got this thing.
I recall that very well. Yeah. And I said to him, I have co-MC'd. I said to Tivo, I've co-MC'd with Mwaka. And Mwaka was the main MC.
Wow.
I was the backup MC.
Yeah.
Because when she goes there, she just becomes a totally different person.
Yeah.
And the way the numbers were coming off her mind, she was given these numbers to mention.
So you know what's interesting?
Like,
so you know what that is?
Yeah.
That's the confluence of your genes and your wife's genes.
Absolutely.
Because you see your wife's like a numbers person.
Exactly.
So that's best of both worlds.
Right. Yeah. So now, she left 5FM as a radio person. Then she went to Diamond TV. And she was a newscaster there. I never saw, not because it's a daughter thing or whatever, but I was just saying, this newscaster is good.
Yes. So professional respect regardless.
Regardless. Yeah. I said, this newscaster is good. Because immediately the person who came to my mind, everybody remembers how Maureen Nkandu used to perform on TV. Yeah. I said, Maureen Nkandu would have loved to see this person reading news. Wow. And I read news with her one of the Christmas shows. They invited me to read news with Mwaka. I just said, girl, I'm retired. I can never read news anymore in my life.
Wow. Not after
you were the one. Not after reading news with you. Now I retire officially. And I did. So from Diamond TV, and then, she just told me, I'm going to Siavonga. We are going by bus. I said, what are you going to do in Siavonga? Next thing I see, a promo on for Zuba. I said, who's this little girl that's running?
How did you get there? Everything about it was just
surprised. Next thing you'll be like,
that's amazing.
Presidential candidate.
But the interesting thing, if you observe, right?
Yeah.
At no point did Mwaka go and use daddy privilege.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And her father is very well capable.
Yeah.
Has all the connections, but her talent just brought through.
I have full respect for that because you see, even in my situation, which I talk about a bit even in my book, my dad and Errol Hickey were like this. My dad's wedding photos from the 70s, Errol Hickey. And so Radio Phoenix time, there was the opportunity, I suppose, that I could have, Winter Lembas. But the fact that you get this thing, regardless of who you're connected to, it even gives you more respect in the industry. I mean, so what you're saying here is like as deep as it gets because she's detached in terms of her journey from you giving her a leg up.
She's not benefiting from connections.
Yes, exactly.
As a result of
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you're very right.
Yeah. We're winding up kind of, because we know that somebody has to do an airport run in a moment. Yeah. But from my side, I mean, I thought this was like going to be deep, and it has been deep. Because what happens a lot of times, we don't share. Well, how do they say? We don't give people their flowers, And your role, I suppose, sometimes you might not even realize how intense it is in your head. But there's so many spin-offs in terms of how, particularly the music industry, because that's where we gang up from, have spurned off based on what you did. Yeah. So I just from my side want to salute, and I don't know, gents, if you.
No, massive salute.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like me personally, I think away from everything else, I mean, that's a given. Alec, in terms of what he's invested in all of our lives, from the professional, point of view is undeniable. But for me, I think it's the gentleman in Alec. That's something that's been consistent. He's always been my friend, even though he was an older brother, through and through. And I remember coming back from the US and being nervous about getting married, and my wedding was just a few days. And Alec's office was in the same office space as my father-in-law's office space. And, he pulled me aside. I don't know if you remember that conversation.
I do remember that, yes.
And he gave me words of wisdom, and they've never left me, you know what I mean? And I've had several moments like that with Alec where his demeanor as a man gave me examples in life away from, because this is a gentleman who was the star. It's not like how it is now, in social media, you're sharing spaces with different people. Alec owned television at the time. He was the star. And yet he had time for everybody.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, for me, sorry.
No, just going to say, I think it's going to go to your point because he wasn't intimidated by letting his shine go on to all of us.
Correct.
Sorry.
And I mean, that for me is one of the greatest aspects of Alec. In our early days, I can definitely point at a number of very influential individuals in the artist space. And Alec definitely fits right up there. I can give you some other names of people that were, in many ways, mentors. You've got Alec himself, who was a colleague, but also a mentor because he gave us that, he opened that door, he opened that opportunity for us to get in there. I still remember Mike Tabor. We used to go sit down with Mike Tabor for hours. Like, it was ridiculous. We even used to carry a radio to record him. And I had no clue. I wish I knew. I had no idea that he was a Black Panther. No.
He was in exile for a bit.
That's what I learned. Like, when I was reading up on Fred Hampton. I'm telling you. I was reading up on Chairman Fred Hampton. I was moved by the movie Judas and the Black Messiah. So I'm reading up on Chairman Fred Hampton, and I'm just going through this stuff, and I'm like, the Black Panther, because plus my book, because of my book research.
Sorry,
you do research. So I did a lot of research. So I was on the Black Panthers, and then I'm like, wait a minute,
Mike Tabor.
Is this the same guy?
This is Mike Tabor.
No way, so we're in the presence of greatness and didn't even realize. I really kicked myself in the butt. I didn't know that's his history, but that's Mike Tabor. And then, we had, of course, Dick Curtis, swears like hell, but he was a great mentor. Herman Strido moved over heaven and earth for us in the early days. Kaweche Kaunda, in spite of his connections with the former presidency and UNIP, but he was a very big mover as well, because it was in those days that we actually met Omar, Daddy Zimas, Mainza, all these musicians of that era. We worked with them at State Lodge. And so you see that impact that Alec had. Alec really, even for me today, our work is not over. He knows we've been talking about some very deep stuff, and we need to make it. I'm telling you, we need to make it happen. It's something that we've sat on the phone for hours speaking about, and so our story is not done.
You're not going to say anything. I mean, like, no. Okay, one last one before you say. You know, like, in terms of my field as a voiceover artist.
Yes.
Right? So I do voiceover. When we met, I didn't even know what it was. But you were like the voiceover artist. You know what I mean? A lot of us looked to what you were doing.
Right.
So now me, who was like Mr. Critics Bureau, under your tutelage and all that, I'm getting these. I've just got an award, But all that stuff, you know what I mean? You're part of those stories too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because you owned voiceover in Zambia, man. It was Alec. And you kill those voices, the clarity of your voice, whatnot,
I remember that the voiceovers, the whole news segment, the whole news,
all the ad breaks.
will have all the ad breaks, 3 ad breaks, 5 commercials,
And they're all you.
They're all me, but sounding different. So there's the fast one, there's the slow one, there's the heavy one, there's the metal.
So now it's a testament of what you've passed on.
Yeah.
So the last podcast that you had,
Yes.
I was in Johannesburg. So Chilu invited me over. Said, listen, I want to have you on our podcast. So he sends me an Uber from my hotel. So I jump in the Uber, and from the time I got in the Uber to the time I got to his place, to their studios, every single ad that came on was his voice. So I get there, and now Chilu comes out. So I told the Uber driver, "Hey, do you hear this guy?" So I'm like, for me, he's my friend, but it's a bit I can flex. I'm like, you know this guy, that's my friend. That's what we're gonna see. So we get there. I deliberately sit in the Uber so Chilu can come out. You remember? Hey, you remember? This is him. You remember? The guy was so flustered. He was like, "Oh my god!"
But you know what's funny? Now when you bring it to him, I can probably pull up the WhatsApp message. I was saying to somebody that I'm going to be in Zambia for a week. If we can do like a masterclass of voiceover, and I mentioned your name.
Yes.
Because if we have a panel which has me on it, neither here nor there. But you'd be like great on a panel because like there's a perspective that you have on the art of voiceover because you've been doing it for so long that hasn't probably been heard. Do you know what I mean?
I remember not very long time ago an interview with Costa Mansa, and he says, "So, what do you think? It's like you're done, you're finished. Now there's Chilulemba, there's Mwaka, there's." Then I said, "No. Not actually what you might be thinking, because there's seasons for everything.
That's right. That's right.
And we all have our seasons.
Yeah.
And Chilu, every time I listen to his voice, there's a time when I actually feel that, okay, he's done great there, but I think he should have done this. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And I'm saying it from the love.
From the love,
exactly.
Because I don't want him to end now. I want him to go on. Because there are so many people that look up to him now. There was a time when the early days when they started hearing his voice, and I think on SABC or something.
Yeah, probably.
Somebody said to me, "Are you in South African broadcast?" I said, "No, I'm not." Then later on I realized, this is Chilu. Because this was also there with Augustine Lungu.
Correct. He also had a
Augustine Lungu, Alec Mugala, Chilulemba. There was another one. There were 4 of us. Like sometimes you listen to the voice.
Do you know that Chilu, there was a time I actually mixed you and Augustine Lungu up. Like,
really?
I honestly thought you were one of the
This is somebody
on the voiceover.
You've known them for years and whatnot, but you still,
No, I was like, that's Augustine. I thought it was Alec.
But you know what? That's similar love. In terms of like wanting you to, it was the late Matteo period when I started out in radio.
Yes.
So, like you
don't argue, you are not there.
there'd be fanfare from all corners, right?
Yes.
But I'd get off air and he'd be like, Mfana, you did well. Now, you see that joke that you did? Bro? And he like gives you like pointers, you know what I mean? And by the time we leave, he'd always have like a nugget there. So it's a similar sentiment that you're passing now.
Yes.
That's what I remember about Mati P.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I listen to him, I'm so proud. When I listen to his music, my son, who is the quieter guy, but he is something else also.
Yeah.
He says to me, "Why do you listen to this music a lot?" I said, first and foremost, I know him personally. Then secondly, I know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And then I know that there's still a lot coming from him. And then he reminds me of those days.
Yeah.
Yes,
so there are all these.
I listen to a lot of your music. You know, the instrumental. We're going to Kabwe and we're just listening to it. And it's playing, you know, and all that. But let me say this, guys.
Yeah.
You have been. I never knew this day would ever come.
Wow.
You know, like where you hear these words from each. You know, I never ever thought anybody would think of me that way.
Really?
Because I'm just this guy who just, you know, does things and hopes that by doing this, we are trying to better this industry. We're trying to make good of this people in this area, you know, youngsters who are trying to come up and all that. Because I'm the one guy who would find time to go to St. Mary's Girls, do free lessons on art.
Yeah.
I don't care. What I want is just to see one person from that class emerge as a good artist. So when I saw Ochomi brothers, and these guys were very handsome, ponytails and what?
Flamboyant dress.
Why is he saying awards in past tense?
No, he referenced the ponytail. Yeah, still handsome.
His hair was up to there. And I just said, turn around. Is that your real hair? And I went to Italy to see where it was pretty. Like, okay.
So just on that, right?
Yeah.
All this history. These guys moved to the UK. I'm on the train platform in London.
Yeah.
And the train comes. Oh, I'm messing up your sound. Train comes in. Everybody drops off. Train leaves.
Yeah.
And I see these across the platform.
Yeah.
Flashy looking guys in London.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that can only be the Ochumi brothers.
I still remember.
So I scream out in London,
Yeah.
Ochumi!
And then we go.
No, but that's it. And see, to get across, you have to go up and go around. So, and then London days, we're all working. So every second counts. So I go up the platform, boom, come, meet the guys, excited, come back. I'm late for work.
I was so cool. And then I remember, I just remember it's funny, he forgets it. No, I think he remembers it. But actually, when I saw Tivo, I said, Jesus
Imagine.
Pre-reverence. I still remember. Even then, it felt wrong. But it was just the excitement.
But I'm just speaking about the style. These guys have been ahead of your time. This is London. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, people are stylists, but these guys stood out on this train platform.
Yeah.
And I was like, that can only be Ochumi. But they're walking away.
Yeah.
So you see, what I'm trying to say, guys, is that every one of you was so special. Look how we still connect today.
Yeah.
You know? And what you just said, somebody said it here, that, you know, instead of bringing flowers and what, these are the flowers. Now I can die.
No,
But you're not.
what's it? Your job is not done.
Let's not make you trip. Make sure we're safe here.
So I remember everybody, you know, the Kelvin Sampan.
Yes.
Alan
Mugala.
And
Michael Shumba.
Michael Shumba.
Yeah.
Michael Shumba
Yes.
was literally by my side. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
You bring records.
Yes.
You
He even
bring
did
this,
the radio show.
you do the radio show.
They had a chart show which just had 3 tracks. They used to swap places every week. Number 1, Lovers No Color. 2 for Real, Don't Stop Your Love. Number 3, Hypersonic Crew. Next week they just switch.
Promotion machine.
And it was called Tin Groove Terminus.
Tin Groove Terminus.
Yeah.
It was
Radio 4, right?
It had,
Radio 4.
It had the following.
18
Yeah, there was a
hours.
whole
I used to
team.
listen.
Yes. It had
That
the
was
following.
amazing.
Yeah.
And one, who's the other one I'm trying to remember?
Andre Makulu?
Andre.
Yeah.
But the one who is in the US, he was Viv Langa.
Viv Langa.
Langa.
Under the African
Wow.
sky.
Yeah.
Viv Langa, yeah.
And the other Indian guys from Kitwe. They
Rajesh.
Yes,
Rajesh.
Rajesh,
You know, Rajesh is going to watch this interview because he's like,
They
yes.
had to
Amazing.
travel all the way
MC
from Kitwe.
Blase.
MC Blase. They had to travel all the way from Kitwe as a family
Wow.
to come and just appear on the show. And we did an interview and everything else.
Yeah.
Welcome the parents and everything. And guys, it has been a life coming to meet like this. Now we should make one hell of a big thing.
No, we need
Yeah.
to.
We
need to.
And you know, just before
No,
this
we need
goes
to.
off, I need to also pay my due respects. You know, it's very important. You know, it's amazing. A lot of people don't realize the levels of professional relations that we maintain in these things. Because so many times, one of the things I always speak about in my talks is the 7 capitals one needs to start a business without money. And one of them is relationships. And relationships are so important because of what dividends you gain from them. And speaking of relationships, I remember when I just finished my book, which is still going to become a bestseller.
It will.
When I finished my book, I have 5 major reasons. I called Chilu. Hey, Chilu, dude, I just done this book. I just done this. This is the book. Check out the TED Talk. You watched the TED Talk, right? There you go. So I send the TED Talk. He does the thing. Then he says, dude. So I said, let's do this. Let's do it. Yeah, but how does it work? Okay, now let's see how we do it. Let's do the half pay thing. Okay, fine. Let's do whatever. So we basically worked around the whole no money thing, literally pulling relationship capital in play. Chilu agrees, and then Chilu goes on a labor of love, almost 1 whole year. This is not a small book. 7 hours, 49 minutes of edited content. So imagine without the edit, how much time this guy had to put in. He goes through all that, does it, no payment from me, and then from there does the final, whatever you call those edits you guys do, those mixed things. Yes, did that whole stuff, you know, at his cost, finishes all this stuff. And so we're done. And then we're stuck because we can't put it on Audible and all this stuff because there were these funny rules about you're from the wrong part of the world. So we couldn't get on that baby. So he said, nah, there's another one. There's this one. I did my book, blah, blah, blah. So that's how we get it on that platform, go through all the headache. He does the sound balance, whatever, pushes it to Fiverr, comes back, done. Goes up on that platform and boom, it's done. And so it's now ready. And then I'm like, so how do we do this? So we're going to do the share thing? Yeah, so we're getting onto the share thing. He just gives me a call. And sorry, I'm bringing this up. So he just gives me a call. He says, was that a call or a voice note? Because we did a lot of voice notes. I think it was a voice note. Because we hardly did calls, just voice note. So he does this voice note and he says, yeah, you know, Walter, after just thinking this thing through, you know what? Consider it my seed. Consider it my gift into your work. I'm like, no. You know, if it was a cartoon,
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
no, that was so deep. I mean, Shilu, I want to thank you. And you know what? This is what we're talking about just before.
Yeah.
I was saying that's what these relationships are about.
Yeah.
Because you imagine the day I have my break.
Yeah.
I have my big exposure on the light.
Yeah.
You think there's any way I can forget this man
Yeah.
for what he's done?
No, man, it's like a circle of love, man. I think it's one of those things where, just your heart, your instinct tells you that there's things much bigger than money. There's things much bigger than there's like seeds planting. That's why even like when I say like if there are panels where Alec can speak on voiceover, I can see it happening and I can see how rich it can be an experience for somebody. You know, Tivo, you've got like. Each one of us has like so much that if we take it to the grave with us, it's an injustice.
No.
No, but
So
see, for me,
you have it, please.
so,
absolutely.
So
Anytime.
for me, being a movie guy, these I'm debating. Should it be one whole movie? Should it be like different
parts.
movies? Should it be episodes? Should it be a documentary? But the things can be all of the above.
Yeah, exactly.
And the beauty in it is that these are the stories that people need to hear to be inspired.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because when we were talking about this earlier, you know, there was only ZNBC. That's all there was.
Yeah.
But we made it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't have all these options. And people have the luxury of saying, oh, you know, such and such a network hasn't picked up my project. I'm going to take it to this other. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
When Ochumi walked in, it was that moment or nothing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Alec didn't have this attitude to say, well, you know what? I have the platform, so let me see 50,000 other kids. When he saw a star, he's like, this is it.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And we made it happen. And so for me, these are the stories that people need to hear to stay inspired.
And just adding to that, I just want to kind of bring a home run on relationships. It's not always, and I noticed this with the artists, especially when they get a bit of fame, a bit of a name. It's not all of them, but some, even today in the industry, I notice, they put money too much in front.
Right.
I think that's very bad. And I say that with full understanding. We're artists. We spend nights sharing a burger 4 ways, you know, drinking water and sleeping on the same bed. We've all been down that path. But relationships are so important. There are certain gigs where you say, you know what, let's not worry about the money. Let's do this. Do that. And what you've done there is sown a mega seed, because tomorrow you can call in the favor. Right. And I mean, sorry to use this example, but Godfather is a classic example. You know, at the beginning of the famous for Godfather opening scene, the old Anzio, the baker, is complaining to Don Corleone about some useless guy messing with his daughter, and Don Corleone agrees to do the favor. And this Anzio, the baker, says, I think it was the Undertaker or the baker, I can't remember, one of the two. And he's like, what can I do to pay? He says, don't worry, it's okay. And so he lets it go. But the day comes, it's the Undertaker. The day comes when his son is murdered in the most horrendous way. And he calls him and he said, I remember I told you I should never have to call in a favor. Today I have to call it in. His mother cannot see him this way. Do your thing, make him look good for the funeral. Now that's, for me, that's how these relationships are. Yeah. You have to learn where to draw what we call the cards of favor.
That's right.
It's not always the money, but a lot of our artists today, it's 5 pin, 10 pin, 15 pin. And then you see the sad part about that is you kill it. That's it, you're done. Yeah. There's no way tomorrow I'll be, okay, maybe if you're super talented, I have no choice. Yeah. But there's that part. But there's too many options nowadays. You can say, you know what, I'm never working with that guy. Yeah. And it's that bad. And it ends there. And I think for me, that's not worth it.
But I think, and I know we're wrapping up, right? But just in you know, to kind of add to what you're saying, it's a value thing. And money, a lot of people have this mistake where they think money is the end result of value. It really isn't. It's a part of it. You know what I mean? And you can't make money without a network. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So the value is within that network. And I've had several times where I've just been kind of like Chimbui no plan, and then the phone rings out of my network, and they're like, hey, there's a gig here. Jump on the plane. It's worth X amount of money. Yeah. But the money I'm going to get there isn't the value. The value is in that. Otherwise, that person would have never thought about me. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? In that network. So like you're saying, you know, if you front money, then that's all you become. You put the value on the money. But if you put value in relationships, this is what you get.
So true, man. And I mean, that's why it's so important. I mean, I know we're overkilling this now.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's supposed to be getting the last radio? No, I'll just say done.
So true. But I mean, I just want to stress this because I've seen it. And I've seen how much it has blocked doors for people. They may not realize it, but it really blocks doors. If you make it all, and unfortunately, the blue-collar musicians are the worst culprits. And when I say blue-collar musicians, I mean the bass players and the drummers. Yeah. I mean, I know they need to pay their food and eat, and I know they're going to survive, but they overdo it. Yeah. And many times, but because of that bad taste, there are certain people who are so high level, they say, not that group. Not that person. No. And literally, in that boardroom, they block you without you realizing it's that obnoxious behavior of making money too much. Now, yes, you got to make money and you got to pay bills, but it's not everything. If there's one thing they get out of this discussion, it's these relationships. Yeah. Every one of us here can call on each other, and it will never be about the money.
Yeah.
Yes, the money is important, but it's not about the money.
Yeah, true. Because I don't think we've exchanged monies between us.
No.
Whichever way the call would have whichever it could have been you, it could have been Tivo, it could have been Chilo. But I've still said, oh, so when? Yeah, I'm ready.
And you know, it's easy to kind of naturally think about, like I'm sitting and I'm thinking, wow, you know, I wish Michael Shumba was here. Yeah. Because there's, and I wish Alan Vula was here. And when Chilo and I initially discussed this, we still had that I wish. Remember, we said, you know, I wish such and such a person would be. And it's because we know and understand how they are connected to this story. And we're talking about Mike Tabor. Mike Tabor's name came up in the last podcast.
Yeah.
All of us here have worked with Mike Tabor at some point.
Yes.
You know, I mean, my story, but the funniest thing I remember is being overzealous and discovering how to edit different things and creating these, you know, what we thought were killer, you know, jingles for radio. And then we had this, hey, I'm Aliyah and you listen to Choice FM. And then Mike Tabor walked in and said, hey, Tivo, did Aliyah come back to life? Like, how did you get
I'll share one quick one. How I remember Mike Tabor. One quick one. We are playing at some place called Kalingindi in some compound there in Chaisa. And then, you know, it's this thing where there's like a brazier outside and it's your turn to go and play. You know, you play. And then Mike Tabor comes up. Hey, Mungale! It's your turn, Mungale! It's your turn! Go and thump the stuff! And he comes over, sits on the caprese. Jack Kabuza comes, sits also on the caprese. We were teaching there. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay, so.
Hey, Mungale, don't leave me!
In the words of Mike the Maverick Tabor, that's the clock on the rock.
You know what we used to say? Mike Tabor, the Born Radio 4.
I think it was Mike Tabor. We're done.
This episode was filmed on location at the Quorum in Lusaka, Zambia. The Quorum. Exceptional, extraordinary, exclusive. Discover more at thequorumzm.com.